Hi, this is Kris with Kris Talks About the Wisdom of Women. And our wise words today are from Whitney Antoniano. And Whitney is a family law attorney and founder of WLA Family Law. When she launched WLA Family Law, she had no seed money to get started and no marketing budget. But she did have a deep commitment to serving people, particularly women, navigating some of the most vulnerable moments of their lives. And welcome, Whitney.
Yes, thank you so much.
So nice to have you here today. Yeah.
I'm happy to be here.
And let's get started. So, what do women facing domestic violence need to know before filing in family court? And yeah.
And so, if you're going through a domestic violence instance, there's kind of two routes you can go whenever you are ready to try to get out of it. A lot of people will go straight and get a protective order, and that sort of route, typically, that is the quickest route to any sort of sense of security because you can get a protective order pretty quickly. And even the initial protective order will last about 2 weeks before you have to go for a secondary hearing.
Mhm.
I recommend that in situations when there's actual physical abuse, when women are in a very dangerous spot, because that at least gives you 2 weeks where that person could have no contact with you at a minimum. It can always be extended. It also gives you the opportunity to ask what's called family maintenance. If you're in a situation where you're not the provider, you've been caring for the children and you really don't have the financial means to get out on your own, you're not sure what you're going to do,
Mhm.
it's almost a way for the court to issue a temporary sort of child support slash family support to allow you to be able to survive without the financial support of your abuser or your significant other.
Uh-huh.
Another route a lot of my clients will take is they come to me and they plan for divorce right away. They don't go the protective order route. This is typically when there's more instances of emotional or psychological abuse, and you may not be in actual physical danger. This gives you the time to take a long look at it, to plan ahead, to figure out
Mhm.
what your finances look like if you don't know already, to
Uh-huh.
plan what you want to file and how, when, all of those things. And so that's a great route as well. It just has different pros and cons.
Okay. I always see this in the news that somebody got a protective order and then it didn't work.
Yes.
How how often do they work, or is there any research on that, or
I'm not sure of the research, but I can tell you I have many cases where there is violations of protective orders. Yes.
yeah.
And in those instances, for the most part, if there's a violation of protective order and the court finds that there was, they'll be issuing jail time and things like that. And so they do
Uh-huh.
take that very, very seriously. But
Okay.
yeah, it is one downside of a protective order is that it isn't enforced by the police. It's not, police aren't surveying it and making sure the person stays away. But
Yeah.
it is a tool if they were to violate it where you could potentially get them incarcerated and actually force them to be away from you.
Okay. And um if there's a lot of physical abuse, is it a good idea to find a shelter that you
Yes.
can go to get yeah.
Absolutely. I always recommend people that are in violent situations and victims of domestic violence that they
Uh-huh.
seek out a shelter. What I've learned through my experience in representing many women is that a lot of times women, mothers don't want to go to a shelter. They have shame and fear associated with that. I always tell them that it is not the experience you think it might be, and
Mhm.
that it's a much more community-based system, and they can give you resources if it isn't just somewhere to stay, or if you might not even be somewhere to stay, but giving you resources
Uh-huh.
for therapeutic opportunities, resources to be able to pay legal fees, things like that. Women's shelters are very helpful for that, and there's also a lot of domestic violence centered organizations in many communities that can be of
Uh-huh.
assistance in that.
Okay. So it's a good idea to look to your community first to see what's available to help you.
Yeah, and they can give you tools to help you with the legal process, whatever route you want to go in.
Okay. Fantastic information. Thank you. How do courts actually weigh a mother's rights and what factors truly matter?
Sure. So back in the day, a court was more traditionally favoring women, right? You see it in the 80s or 70s in divorces. It was
Yeah.
almost a default setting where women would get primary custody. That's no
Mhm.
longer the case in family court. Every court I work in, at least, I'm licensed in DC, Maryland, New York, and Texas, although I don't practice in New York and Texas. But everywhere I practice currently, the default is 50-50 custody amongst the two parents, and you have to work your way away from that. And the way the court determines if 50-50 custody is best or if one parent having primary custody is best is they look at what's called best interest factors. Every state has different factors they consider. They have case law on it, and there's a list of 13 or 14 different factors, and the court considers all of them. In Maryland, for example, some of the factors include the ability of the parent to be present and active in the child's life. Another factor is the ability to have family and support systems near them, the ability to help them with their education and for them to prosper and grow. All of these different things are listed out in factors. So I tell people that might not be in Maryland where you have the same best interest factors as I do. If you
Mhm.
look up the law in your state, it will itemize all of these factors. And when you're going through court and if you are representing yourself, if you point to all these factors, your case is going to have a much better chance of being successful than if you don't.
Is that in most states, is that information available online or
Yes, it should be.
it
The
should
statute at
okay.
the very least should be, if not law firms in your area all the time write blogs on this and they outline the
Ah,
factors and things like that. So a simple Google search,
okay.
you should be able to find it as long as you include your state in the search and you look at best interest factors. Because my understanding, believe every single state uses these best interest factors. Every state's factors are just a little bit different.
Okay. And hopefully if you ask the right questions of AI, it will be able
Yeah,
to
you
also
AI should tell you if you say what are the best
okay.
interest factors in child custody in
Yeah.
Maryland or whatever state you're in. I
Yeah.
always just tell people to check and make sure the case they're citing is correct. There's some attorneys that have used AI to like draft motions and have gotten disbarred because they didn't check their work and check cases to make sure they're
Yeah.
real. But for the most part, my experience with ChatGPT and recently I use Claude a lot more. It's a little more reliable. It seems like
Yeah.
it's a good initial resource.
Okay. Okay, great. That is good to know because so many people are using it
Yeah,
now. And
it's
I
a
use it. Yeah,
response.
yeah. But I don't always trust the response.
Yeah, as you should. You should fully trust something that doesn't
Yeah,
have like that
yeah,
second level of like
yeah,
proofing from a
yeah,
human.
yeah. And tell us your journey about building a law firm from 0.
Yeah,
Yeah, how did as a woman, what was your experience
yeah. It
with
was
that?
something I never expected to do in my practice. I never thought I would start my own law firm. Early on in my practice, I worked as a public defender for the Legal Aid Society in the Bronx, and I was
Mhm,
representing victims of sex trafficking. And I learned really quickly that I really enjoy advocacy, and that's what I'm good at.
uh-huh.
Which works for me. That it's what I'm good at, and it's also what I enjoy. And so I worked
Yeah,
in private practice. I worked for a couple law firms. The second one I was working for is where I really transitioned into family law cases. And I realized really quick how much advocacy that practice area needs for its clients.
mhm,
And so I built up a client base through that firm. And the attorney I was working for decided to retire. And when I left, I just decided I can do this on my own. I have these clients, I know what I'm doing, and I know they
yeah,
trust me. And I don't feel comfortable taking my clients to a firm where they may not have the best representation possible.
yeah.
What led me into creating my business, and it's been a journey for sure. If it wasn't for the power of the community on social media, my firm would have not grown nearly as big as it has.
Uh-huh.
And I'm very, very appreciative to that. But I've learned that my perspective as a woman in the legal field is something that people really value, especially in family law. Traditionally, it's
Yeah.
been a male focused practice. It's been mostly older male attorneys handling family law cases. And a lot of times I don't understand why, because I would want a personal experience for my divorce or custody case. And
Yeah.
so that's what I've been offering.
Okay. And and how did you use social media to build your practice?
Sure. So I was actually on TikTok myself just as a user, and I was seeing lawyers come up, and I'm like, they know what they're talking about, sure, but I don't, they're so unapproachable, and it's not very, I didn't have any sense of community or connection
Yep.
with people. It seemed very much
Yeah.
separated, if you will. And so I thought I could do that so much better. I could provide good information, but also a resource and a community. And so I just started posting. I started kind of spending one day every couple weeks coming up with a bunch of videos. And since I'm so busy, I'll schedule them out.
Uh-huh.
And after a couple months, it really took off. I started getting new clients. Within, I think, 6 months or so, I hit 10,000 followers. And now it's been about 2 years, and I'm on both on Instagram and TikTok. I'm about 90,000 followers. And
Uh-huh.
people make comments, and it makes me almost tear up. They say, like, how thankful they are for my community and the fact that I'm just offering education without just selling my services.
Yeah.
Because I really am genuine. And when I'm posting something, I want them to have these tools.
Yeah. 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 So you're focusing on the educational.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
And the
And
realistic side of it.
yeah.
A lot of parties in family law represent themselves, and that's just the realistic how it happens because it's so expensive for an attorney.
Yeah.
So I started giving tips and I guess kind of lessons on how to enter evidence as a self-represented party,
Uh-huh.
how to do this or that, how to do discovery. And I actually had another attorney in a courtroom once tell me that I was really, really stupid for doing so because then no one's going to hire me because they could do it on their own. And I just looked at him and I was like, I didn't say anything, but I just thought, I'm like, you are so close minded and you don't realize that if somebody can afford a lawyer, they're going to get a lawyer. They can't afford a lawyer, then all it's going to do is help.
Yeah. No kidding. And what's your handle on TikTok and
Sure. My
Instagram?
handle is WLA Family Law. It's the same on both TikTok, Instagram,
Okay.
Facebook.
Yeah.
And my website is www.wlafamilylaw.com.
Okay. Yes. Keeping the same handle across all, yeah,
Yeah.
that's always
Try to
always a
make
good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow. Wow. That's, wow. So, what do you think family law gets right and wrong when it comes to protecting women and children?
I see a lot of both. People always talk about how family court and the system's broken, and I do not disagree. I agree. It's not a perfect
Mhm.
system. There's a lot of variety, but just determining in what court you go to, what judge you get. And a lot of the times, the judge you get determines whether your case is successful or not. Not anything to do with the merits. It just depends on whose desk your case is on that day. And that can lead to a lot of wrong outcomes. I think
Yeah.
also family court judges, there are so many cases that are effectively baseless, that don't deal with really important issues like DV. So judges sometimes get a little bit hardened from actually listening to what's going on, and they step into a courtroom and oftentimes have kind of a preconceived notion, and you have to overcome that, which
Oh.
affects cases. But they do
Yeah.
at times get it right. I've noticed that a lot, at least in Prince George's County, which is one of the counties I primarily practice in, a lot of their new magistrates and judges are previous family law attorneys. that have that experience and know what to look for, which I think is so helpful for judges. They know exactly the type of case, how it works, what to look for, red flags, things like that. And I've seen it done right many times, but I can't say that it's every time, unfortunately. I wish it was. And if there was I think that the cure for this and the issues within family court is educating judges, requiring that they go through training for domestic violence, identifying signs of violence, things like that would be very helpful. And that really could help resolve some of the disparities between outcomes and cases.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a big change you'd like to see is the judges being more educated.
Yes,
And okay.
definitely.
Are there other changes that you think would be helpful?
I think that there should be more resources for people representing themselves. Absolutely. So I'd say probably
Uh,
40% of family court is self represented. I don't know
wow.
that for a fact, but from my experience, and I
Yeah.
know even as an attorney gone up against self-represented parties, if they had it kills me every time I go into a case and I see someone representing themselves. And I
Yeah.
know that they could have made a better position for themselves, but they couldn't afford counsel. And they were just in a position where they were not suited to be up in trial and litigating something in a
Yeah.
whole environment they're not familiar with. And I think if they were given more tools and guidance, that would really help. Think
Hmm.
that there's a lot of things missed in family court because of it being such a personal experience. People are often telling you feelings and emotions, and you can go off the track and off the rail very
Yeah.
easily. But I've seen that sometimes when you're off the rails, you find out some really, really important things that maybe the person didn't realize was important.
Because yeah.
Right. I
Okay.
make a priority of getting to know my client and really getting into the depth of everything that's gone on because I've learned these certain things that I know are red flags for me. And I know that a judge would see as a very big issue, but they may not see
Mhm.
it as something that a court would really care about. And so without having an attorney who spends that sort of time with you, it can get looked over.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Do you think having a female attorney is better than a male attorney in the family court area?
I think it depends. I mean, I
Okay.
have probably primarily women clients, but I do have a significant amount of male clients.
Okay.
And I've met male attorneys that are excellent that I would
Mhm.
hire if I was going through divorce, something like that. But I've also
Uh-huh.
met some that are very much, they think about women and they have preconceived notions that, oh, she's just whining, things like that. And it's really, really alarming. Like when opposing counsel will say some terrible things about their clients to me. And I'm just like, and yeah. Yeah, right, and in front of them or right around the corner, and I'm just thinking to myself, "Ugh,
Wow.
gosh, I can't believe this is their advocate right now."
Yeah.
And
Uh,
so, I think a lot of times as a woman, going and getting a female attorney, it's easier to make that connection that's so helpful in a family law case,
mhm.
and so if that is available, absolutely, but that doesn't mean a male attorney isn't able to provide that. It's just a little less common.
Yeah, and what should women be asking an attorney, that they're thinking about hiring?
Sure. So I
Yeah.
tell people there's some fatal flaws you can make when finding an attorney. I've learned that there are some big fancy firms that have very high pay, high legal fees, all of these things. And on paper, it may seem like, oh, that's the route to go. That's going to be the best path of litigation. What I've seen is when I've gone up against these big firms, is that they're typically handed down to the youngest associate who may not have ever tried a case. They
Oh,
don't have nearly as much experience, and even though they have this big
yeah.
firm's name behind them, your case isn't treated with as much of a personal touch, and so I tell clients to try to stray away from too large of a firm because they don't care about your case enough.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then
No
finding
kidding.
an attorney that actually does family law, and that's their focus. So many small practices do every area of the law, and so it's kind of like a master of all is a master of none. And so they may do a
Yeah,
couple divorces a year, but they're not doing it every day in and out.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and
So
lastly, just a vibe. It's, oddly enough,
yeah.
like how you feel with an attorney. If you trust this person, you believe them, that tells you a lot because you can get a good sense about your working relationship with somebody after meeting with them.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Mhm.
I think that means, yeah, more than anything
Yeah.
else.
Your intuition is very, very important.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, so finding an attorney that you sort of feel good about and has experience.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
If you are
Okay.
speaking to an attorney and interviewing with them or consulting with them, and you can ask, hey, do you have any cases in this courthouse? When was the last case you had there? Do you know this judge? And if they can tell you cases, their experience there, that's a good sign. If maybe they've never practiced there, maybe that's not the attorney for you.
Yeah. Okay. Um, does it make a difference whether the judge is female or male? Do you see?
I think I think just as like every judge is different, sure, there's differences amongst female and male
Yeah.
judges. I can't say that every female judge is more understanding or more willing to listen. There's a lot of
Yeah.
female judges that are exactly like male judges, and some male judges that are even more understanding than female. It really just
Uh-huh.
depends. I also have seen cases where a female judge, and it's the woman, if she's the petitioner, I've seen judges almost go a little bit harder on them as if it's like what as if they've created some sort of I don't know. I recently saw this in a case and I can't fully understand it, but
Uh-huh.
the party seemed like she was given a lot more difficulty. But to be fair, she was asking to get rid of father's time. I was representing father, but I thought that she was given a little less benefit of the doubt, I
Uh-huh.
think just because she was trying to take time away, and that is something
Oh,
females more often do than men. Yeah.
okay. Wow. Wow, this has been an amazing conversation. So much fantastic information.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just hopeful to I think knowledge is so much power, especially when you're
Yeah.
thinking about a divorce. Typically, women think about a divorce for a long time before they file. Very unlike men. Men usually file on the cuff, out of sudden whim. Women usually think it through, and I think part of helping them think it through and understand everything is through this sort of advocacy and education.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, educating yourself.
Mhm,
Wow, if your husband files out of the blue, that
mhm.
does that seems like that adds some extra pressure for the woman?
I think definitely. Obviously, if you're not prepared for it, you're not expecting it, you can't fully understand everything that's going to happen before it happens because it's probably
Yeah.
too late to get a full survey of the finances before he files if it surprises you. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you're in an unfair disadvantage though, because in divorce law, it really doesn't typically matter who files first. People
Okay.
say that it matters a lot. I disagree. You can file a counter complaint and get all of your assertions in there into the case. The only difference it really makes no matter what is that whoever files first presents their case first at trial.
Okay. But the woman still has avenues to,
Yes.
you know, work it out, think about it, educate herself?
Exactly, yes, and I would say if your significant other is filed for divorce, the first thing you wanna do is meet with an attorney, meet with a couple if you can afford multiple consultations, and if nothing else, that's just gonna give you a lot more understanding of the process and what your options are.
Okay. Fantastic. Why don't you let people know your handles again so they can find you?
Sure, so I'm on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, my handle is WLA Family Law, it's my name, Whitney Lynn Antoniano,
Yeah.
Family Law. And my website is www.WLA Family Law. And if you're in DC or Maryland, you can schedule consultations directly on my website if you'd like to learn more.
Huh, cool. Yes, fantastic. Making it easy.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the
Yeah.
goal, right?
Yes. Well, thanks again. I
Yes,
really
awesome.
appreciated it
Thank you
so
so much for having
much.
me.
Yeah. Thank you for being here and for listening to these wise words. If you loved it, tell a friend and leave a rating or a comment. And if you want more of my thoughts on the wisdom of women, come hang out with me on Substack.